The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Voting just isn't going to the polls on Election Day anymore. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, breaks down the options your state offers for casting a ballot, empowering you to decide when and where to vote. Democracy works best when we all vote, but misinformation and confusion about election procedures have resulted in low voter turnout. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, takes the guesswork out of the voting process. How to Vote is an easy-to-use and help folks from all over the country overcome many of the process barriers to voting. Democracy Works is committed to helping you vote, no matter what. Their tool, How to Vote, does just that. You can sign up for election reminders, see what's on your ballot, get step-by-step assistance requesting your mail ballot, explore your options for returning your voted mail ballot, check your voter registration status, find your polling site, and make sure you have the appropriate ID. Decide when and where you'll vote this year at howto.vote. That's howto.vote. Even though this is a presidential election, there are many more candidates on the ballot besides the president. Go to Ballot Ready for a nonpartisan guide to your entire ballot. From there, you can compare candidates based on stances on issues, biography, or endorsements, and then save your choices to use when you vote by mail or in the voting booth. You can even request your absentee ballot or make a plan to vote early on or election day. This election matters. Make sure you have a plan to vote and vote informed. And this year, with changes to polling places and vote by mail laws as a result of COVID, it's more important than ever to have a plan and vote. Local elected officials affect our lives every day. They decide who to prosecute, monitor the quality of our drinking water, and choose the leadership of our schools. 30% of voters take time to vote and then leave some part of their ballot blank. This is a missed opportunity to choose the leaders of our communities. It's okay if you're unfamiliar with some of the more local positions. We recommend hosting a ballot party. Get together with friends over Zoom, split up the research, and go through the ballots together. Go to ballotready.org and enter your address to make a plan to vote and vote informed. That's ballotready.org.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom websites from all the country. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Check the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful gentleman who's living in Northern California, where he grew up with a single mom, began to write poetry and rhymes around 2015, which led to writing lyrics and recording around late 2017. And 2 years afterwards, he taught himself digital production in a Florida studio. And he planned a debut series of performances in the summer, but due to COVID, he's been doing a lot of digital and social platforms. And he just has a lot of music right now on SoundCloud, Spotify, BandLab, and a lot more. And very unique music, and he's a phoenix rising above the ashes and emerging as one of the next superstars in the world of music. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in Northern California, this guy is smoking. Ladies and gentlemen, Nathan Shaw, or best known as Nate Soundz. Nathan, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, how you doing, Mike? Thanks again for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's great. It's great to have you with. So you just have an amazing story. You live in Northern California, which you grew up with your single mom, and you wrote poetry and rhymes on 2015. You later led to lyrics and recording on 17. And then 2 years after that, you started teaching yourself digital production, and you were going to go on tour, but due to the pandemic, you started doing digital and social media, and you've got some great music out there. Got Off the Wall, Sing Song, Gratitude, Isle, and more. You'll be playing one of tunes for us in just a few minutes, and you've got pretty much specialized in dark trap, electronic, D&B, and some 90s influence as well, too. And before we get to all that, with you being such a genius, tell you how it first got started.
Well, I would say ultimately the pressures of being an individual again. I was married for 8 years, and when I got my divorce, I had to find out who I was, by myself again. And in that process, I discovered music, and lyric and rhyme has always been with me, like you said, with poetry. But that would be the defining moment, was just being an individual again, in all accounts that I held for myself as significant.
And what was that one moment that precisely influenced you into what you're doing today?
We were at a festival, and I had some of my poetry hung up. I used to put them in frames, and I'd hang them up. And I had a person tell me, these poetry you have, sir, it's almost like music. It's like lyrics, it seems like. And I thought about that. So I would say that was a defining moment, because I wouldn't have considered that myself. It took someone to take interest in me and tell me, give me some positive feedback on it. So I took it to the next level and fell in love with it.
Wow, it's amazing. And what do you base your poetry on? And I'd like to hear some of your poetry after you answer.
Well, I haven't done poetry in a long time, but I would say that my inspiration for poetry is something like Rorschach block. When you're in psychology, when someone has you look at an image or abstract and you tell them what it means to you, or a free write. You write to yourself without consideration of a subject matter or context. Help reveal your subconscious thoughts to yourself. These are all old practices, that I read about, and as I read them, I try to develop my own ideas of them. So that's where my concept of writing comes from. It's almost like a daydream. I see images in my mind and ideas, and I used to meditate a lot, and through my meditations, I would do the same process. And I can extract a lot of words, from a lot of images, and I can see things in my mind's eye. So I use that to my advantage. Long enough focus that I feel like I can resonate with almost any subject, at least from my experience. So that's where my inspiration comes from. Ultimately, is just trying to self-discover.
And what do you base your poetry on as well? What do you what do you base your poetry on? You know, in terms of lyrics, like say life experiences, or if you have like a story in your head, or you know, say in the news. It's like, what do you base your lyrics and poetry on?
Whatever is personally concerning me in the moment or at the time. You know, at first when I first started doing this, I was writing about being an individual, and that's what kind of got me into existentialism, and I started reading more philosophy and things like that. So I think it's hard to say because I don't separate the lines between my poetry and my lyrics. Someone told me at one point that my lyrics read like, or my poetry reads like lyrics, so I just started saying lyrics. But to me, they're the same thing, you know.
Right. And who do you consider favorite? Who do you consider favorite authors and poets?
Favorite author is hard to say. I really like Thomas Campbell. I really like Joseph Campbell. I really like Stanislav Grof, who was a Czechoslovakian PhD in psychology, and I read probably more of his books than anybody's. But I'd say Joseph Campbell, just the message behind it, or or Alan Watts. I really have a resonation with Alan Watts and his philosophies and ideas. But I would say it's hard. It's a hard line between Joseph Campbell and Alan Watts.
And we'll also talk about more of music as well, too, your influences, and a little bit more about Nathan Shaw. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Nathan Shaw, best known as Nate Soundz, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And not only he's a musician, self-made MC and producer, also a father and a veteran. And tell us more about you. Serving as a veteran of the United States. This is rather interesting.
Okay, so it's interesting to me too. I had a unique experience. So I started. In high school, I never really wanted to join the military. And then when I decided to, it was ultimately because I had an uncle who at the time wasn't doing so well. He had just gotten out of prison, and he decided to attack me. And I'd never been attacked by a grown man, at least early in the morning on my way to work and unexpectedly. And I realized at that time that I maybe wasn't equipped to deal with certain things like that in the world. And so I went to the military, and I didn't regret it. I'm the type of person that when I commit to something, I sort of fall in love with it. And I fell in love with the idea of the military and basic training. And after that, I sort of went downhill from there in terms of my interests, but I excelled in my ability. So I started off in support, which is basically, you could consider it a division or an industry in the military. And I was specifically doing refueling operations for aircraft. And I didn't like that very much because, as I learned about the type of people I was working with, I was less and less appreciative of that fact. So I went to special operations. I went to selection. I got selected. I did not make it, or didn't finish the Q course rather. I ETS'd, and I never had to. I was in Korea, and every time I got set up for deployment, I was actually stopped because my training was considered more important. I had a small injury in selection, and I was offered to either re-enlist or to get out of the Army in my scheduled time. So I took my scheduled out as I just had a kid. He was about 3 months old. And I had already re-enlisted once, so I didn't want to extend any further. I was kind of done with the whole idea, and I figured if I gave my same effort in the world for myself and my family, I could excel quite well. So that's what I chose to do.
And then you said you're in the Army as well too, and you say you're stationed in Korea. And when was this? And what were your role in Korea at the time?
So I actually showed up as I forget my MOS. They changed time. I think at the time it was 87 Foxtrot, but I was a refueler, and I showed up in Korea as a refueler. But I impressed my first sergeant enough to the point that he asked for special orders from our current command sergeant major, and at the time colonel. I became the first sergeant's assistant, basically, and I did all sorts of stuff for him. And he taught me a lot of neat things about the military that I didn't know as a PFC and a private. And he helped me out a lot with my path getting to selection and getting selected. That meant a lot for me, I'm not sure what to say else about that, really.
And what'd you learn about the Army?
Well, that's a long story that I probably don't want to get into right now 100%, but no problem diving into it and, exposing some of my ideas about it. And I think that it's a good idea on the front face of things, but there's details that if you're not prepared for might be difficult to deal with. And someone like me who takes deep interest in what they involve themselves with, I just found out certain things that weren't for me, like, change of command in the middle of your enlistment when the ideas that you signed for, may not be supported or were supported before, or you realize in general the effort is not, what you signed up for. And that's something I don't think gets shown often enough on face value in recruitment. I think there's a place for the military, even though I'm not willing to say what, because I'm willing to say I don't know. I'm not an expert in that, and I don't want to put my face or my name or word on anything that has to do with things I know I'm not equipped to talk about. But that's sort of, I have a respect for it, but I also sort of have a resistance towards just full-blown blind allegiance to anything. So that's what it taught me is consider your allegiances to things and be straight about them.
Now, you mentioned earlier about your uncle serving in the military as well, too. And one day, out of the blue, he came out and attacked you. What did it have to do with anything that happened before that, or was it just a case of PTSD on the part of your uncle?
No, so he was not actually military. He had just gotten out of prison. Was my statement.
Prison. I'm sorry. Okay, I just want to correct. That's all. Okay.
They're similar, but different objectives.
Okay. All right. We just want to make sure about that because there have been some cases as well, too. And you also made a self-made MC as well, too. And also, you've played some of that. And what was it like for you just making yourself a self-made MC? Did you, just watch any videos? Did you, attend any concerts just to watch? Or you just simply said, I'm just going to create one myself?
I intentionally didn't listen to anybody or take any inspiration outside of people who took direct interest in me after the fact, or, my general idea from the get-go, which, I had a good foundation, I felt, because I'd already been married for 8 years. I had been in the military. I'd had a kid. And at the time I'd started, I actually had 2 kids, which I have now, Ian and Nate Jr. One's 12, that's Nate, and the second one is Ian, that he's 10. So, but at the time they were, let's see, when I first started considering it, so 2 years ago, Ian was 8 and Nate was 10. I didn't expose myself to anybody. I had some early on inspiration, which was, just sophisticated word use of, I would say, all the general MCs that showed in the original Team Backpack ciphers. I didn't know anything about underground when I first started listening to music, especially hip hop. I didn't know there was a scene like that was sort of off mainstream and people trying to rise above on their own independent artistry and all that. So as I discovered this, I would say that was my main inspiration. Is I realized this was possible, and not only possible, there was a venue already sort of supporting that effort. So I felt encouraged enough, by people like Token, who broke out at the initial, what I would say that the highest peak of popularity for Team Backpack in the online ciphers. So the fact that I come from a small town, I never felt like there was the ability to reach out to people and to have enough connections to make things possible. So, to have the web and then to have something like Team Backpack, or a real popular venue like that open up, it was inspiring. So I took that and I rolled with it as best I could. And I feel like I've accomplished, good independence in terms of my style.
Sounds like you accomplished a lot as well, too. Looking forward to what you're going to play for us in a little bit. And who are some of your favorite artists, singers, musicians, and other rappers growing up?
Growing up, the first song I ever remember listening to was in my mom's old black Toyota. And don't ask me what kind, because I don't know. I think I was about 5 or 6. And she was listening to the Eurythmics, and there was Sweet Dreams. And of course, it caught my ear. And I just like the smoothness but the depth of it. Maybe it might have been her vehicle because it was relatively new at the time. I remember it was kind of all new to me. But it just sounded so. I realized at that time how much I was influenced or how much I could be looking back on it. I can watch a movie, but if I don't have sound, there's no interest in it. But I can listen to something, and no matter what it is, if it's just the audio from a movie, I can be moved by it. So I'm very moved by sound in general, and I can't say why in particular. I've just been listening to music since I was a kid.
And it sounds like it as well, too. I'll have you play one of our tunes in just a minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for early needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Nathan Shaw, best known as Nate Soundz, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And let's go and play one of your tunes that you got for us. You can find all his music on SoundCloud, Spotify, BandLab, and more. And right now, we've got a tune that's you got for us. And tell us what you're going to play here on the Mike Wagner Show, Nate.
So right now I'm going to play Time Pivotable. I actually recorded this 100% on my phone, which is at the time a Note 9. And I did this in a free app, and I'm not an advocate or anything for this. I'm just telling people what I did on BandLab. And BandLab's a free app, and I think it's cross-platform, but that's where I did it in, and that's where it starts for me, I think, now creatively. And anything I have that I feel is, good enough, I'll pass over to SoundCloud. And this is probably by far my most successful, not probably, definitely my most successful song. 11 days ago, or 12 days ago, rather, I'm at 224,000 views, and It made the list of Los Angeles Weekly Times. So I'll be playing that right now, and here we go with that.
Nate Soundz. Yeah. As time unwinds, I seek to find the signs in line that I can write in rhymes. Yeah, I've been writing to it from time to time about spreading the cloud and how to deal with doubts and turn them like in a roundabout. Like, what the fuck is the label today? Really, anyway, and really, my mind, I'm not trying to sign unless it's something strange. Shout out to Slapbox, but the teams ran up front at a 60-40 split until I stopped at the standard and sincere and stable. But I'm far more capable, swinging mine on the swing line, stable to this tightrope walk, and I'm moving them like a zip line. Speed like a anchor down to the cable, independently underground, fatal. But now I got Jimmy and Eileen type boots on the ground to get Nate some attention and good life, so I continue to fuck around with the sound and go hard from the start with too real, no fake to the art. A revolutionary cat with cause and aim to help people. Checks the clause, but most would rather complain and crawl up a steeple than take my offered assistance, services, and advanced receivables. All these clowns know about what's on pay-per-view and never their payables, wondering why they get played like an I quote. It's inconceivable. So, hold your pause and pause the applause, because unless I'm giving money away, these beggars are unreachable, unteachable, unpleasable. We all want to be rich but not responsible. Everybody wants to respond but not be civil. Like everyone who's anyone made it must be a fucking criminal. Right? Fucking get that bullshit out your mind, because the only crime is how much potential and hard work remains unattended, untenable, dogmatic sound bites sparking off to the sentinels, subliminal, shiny, mystical, so typical and also predictable. Like I'm taking action with some esteem and passion and wash away the trivial. If only I visuals, because it's pitiful. And success is fucking pitiful.
That's about 90% of everything is essentially, a little bit of a repeat after that with a little bit of ambiance. But the message is basically, I think, a well mix, of maybe what people might refer as both aisles. I'm typically remain and am non-political, or at least neutral. And I try to observe both sides of just ideas overall, not just politically. But I feel like, there's interest in there for everybody, and at least a point at which a bunch of people, I would say the significant majority of the population, could have a conversation about. And I hope at least that's why I'm experiencing the success I am for that particular song right now.
Mm-hmm. And when inspired you to write Time Pivotal, and how'd you come up with the name?
Recently I actually discussed this too, and one of the things I mentioned was I feel like I've become the person I'm supposed to be. So I got this thing about being the right person at the right place at the right time. I've been all around the world, and now that I feel like I also not only am who I'm supposed to be, but where I'm supposed to be for me now, it's all about timing, and I want to be at the right place at the right time, and I want to be the right person. So I feel like right now, as long as I focus on what's going on with the times and me and my abilities, I could do things that are actually helpful for people in a real way. And my goal is to do it immediately. You know, whatever it is I have to offer someone, if I'm reaching out to them, I want to be able to show something at the end of it that's tangible, real, and, you know, functional for them. And by that, you know, even if it's just a conversation, at the end of the conversation, I want there to be something that I feel like we can both reach out to on a common ground and have a productive conversation, or, you know, business productivity, whatever have you, whatever the subject matter is. So that song's about that. And, you know, I try to reach as many people as possible with that.
And what can we find Time Pivotal at?
Right now, it's just on SoundCloud. I have submitted it to quite a few curators. It's the first song I've done this with, and I just sort of want a good widespread feedback of a song that's reaching, you know, a large population, so I can adjust, or not so much adjust, but really find myself in the midst of, you know, the market and interested listeners and what have you in that realm of things. I don't have enough information on my crowd, so this is the first song I've experienced, you know, great success with, in my opinion, great success. So I want to find, you know, the ability to do that in a way and still stay true to myself.
It sounds amazing. I really like that song, Time Pivotal. You got a really good thing going, and looking forward to more of your music, Nate, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And what else can we expect from you in 2021 and beyond?
2021 is going to be the dawn of my very first full album. I've neglected to talk about anything directly personal in my life because I know that, you know, being an MC and hip hop today, you really have to express your sense of realism. You got to be real. And to me, that means, you know, being as frank as possible. And I can't be more frank about my direct experiences. So I've reserved those particular elements of my life for the ability and my skill to match it. And now that I'm there, that's 2021. And it's going to be called The Tempest, because it's a storm of storms. So I'm going to say a lot of things that I think are going to impress a lot of people, not necessarily good or bad, but it'll be unprecedented in terms of the focus and you know, my overall interest.
Mm-hmm. And we're looking forward to that as well, too. And also just a couple more things. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
It's going to have to be three particular people, and that's going to be Sweaty, 2 T's, SWEATT, all caps. And that guy from the very get-go just gave me the absolute greatest support. You know, he's got so many of his own issues to deal with like anyone else, but the guy just went above and beyond for me. You know, he was my top listener after not listening for like 6 months. You know, he had to go on some personal stuff. He just took a break from music. He was my top listener 6 months after not listening to a single song. So when I noticed that, it meant a ton to me. And there's Preston Montana, who just like, first time I listened to one of his songs, I just felt like I had to listen to everything. And I never felt that way about so many people, or about so many songs about one person. And then the other one would have to be just, you know, I'm going to say everyone in general, but my mom probably, you know, she's been performing from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
She likes and she enjoys music, but she looks for herself. So that's my trying to beat that.
And that's very fantastic. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point, Nate?
You don't need anything to make yourself the best version of who you know, whatever it is you can be in your own idea of yourself. Don't worry about spending money on anything until you know exactly who you are and what you want to do. And once you do that, everything else will be figured out for you, you know.
Mm-hmm. And that's very good advice. Once again, Nathan Shaw, best known as Nate Soundz, here on the Mike Wagner Show. A very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or listen to your music?
I don't charge for anything right now. You know, I think music and sharing my ideas is important to stay free. I hope to attract, you know, enough people that I can create a crowd and, you know, sort of make a bit benefit that way. But direct services will be available soon. I have my own website being created. Don't have a name for it yet, but everything's going to be at Nate Soundz on your major platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the like. But right now, SoundCloud is the primary source for my creative projects and music, and BandLab is where the creation starts. So that's where I get wild and sort of experiment. But SoundCloud's where the music's at.
Sounds great. We'll check you more out. Once again, Nathan Shaw, best known as Nate Soundz, a very big thank you for your time here on the Mike Wagner Show. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. You've been great.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.